it. Hit the button. Hit it.
All right, so welcome to episode number 4 of Meet the Artist. We have with us tonight the wonderful, and point in the right direction, Candy Javier, all the way from Japan, right? And we also have with us the Humans of Blab artist, and I hope I say this right, Karolien Soete. I'm sorry. How do you say it?
Soete.
All right. And do you want to tell everybody where you're from?
I am from Ghent, Belgium.
In Belgium. And Eric, where are you from?
I'm in fabulous Los Angeles.
Los Angeles. And Eric, as I've read upon, is known as sort of the Sharpie master and may have been the #1 user of Sharpies and brought the stock up over the last 10 years if you look at some of his drawings. Some amazing work there.
I love my Sharpie.
So make sure you don't draw on the camera there. We'll make sure we see you for the rest of the show. But I just want to ask you guys some questions about sort of how you started your art, where you're at, and how you use live streaming to better yourself with it, or maybe it's hurting you. Who knows? But we have quite an international audience, so we're kind of using this all around the world, and kind of the first time we can all get together this way. But I would just like to know, and each of you do a different style of art, sort of where, did your initial inspiration come from? Was it, for Candy, a camera that you picked up as a kid? Was it a pencil? Was it that Sharpie in school drawn on, I don't know, the lockers or something? And, kind of go around and each of you answer that. Candy, do you want to start?
Yeah, sure. I start my taking pictures when I was 16 years old. I got this big gift from my father. And I remember it was a Pentax, and it was a complete set. And remember those days, it was a film which is rectangle shape. That was my first, my camera, that first one. It has a full complete set with filters and everything. But I've touched that as a year when my father gave it to me as a birthday present. And from that point, I started taking pictures on my own. And from that point, and then when I got married, I don't have any time. I just left out that, and tablets just been released and something, and I want to take photographs without using cameras. So what I did was, the first that I have was Samsung Galaxy, the old one, the thick one, the very thick one. And I said to myself, this has camera. So it's not impossible to take pictures with this. So what I did was, just to test it out and find something interesting for me, I started out taking pictures for tablets. That's one thing that I've been branded out. And then time to time, I cannot bring my camera because it's so heavy and it's quite messy for me. It's always my mobile and my tablets. So every time I saw something which I cannot express, if I see something right on the spot, I just pull it out. Just like that. And I never realized that it will be that type of photography that I'll be in. But I still use my roll film, my Nikon, and my Canon. That's why.
So you kind of skipped the big camera right in the middle. You went straight from film to the little phone camera.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Well, I separate it, and I make sure that if I want to use my zoom lenses for everything, I use my big cameras. But oftenly, it's my tablet and my Air and my mobile, and that's it.
Awesome. How about you, Karolien?
I've been drawing since I was very, very little. I was passionate about it. I'm kind of an introvert, so I was always sitting in a corner somewhere or reading books or drawing. I went to art classes from the age of 7. Went to art school then after that. Then got my master's in all graphical techniques. Studied another 4 years after that in arts. So I've been doing it the whole of my life. Passionate about it. And that's what I can say.
Did you ever feel like, since you sound like you're very trained in your art, do you ever feel like in school as you were going along that you were kind of restricted by that, or do you feel like they always gave you the freedom to express yourself?
Well, I think technique is very important, because I think I'm convinced that you have to know how to do it, and after that you can use your inspiration or imagination to branch out. That's what I did. I hear an echo. Is that me?
I'm not sure. Is it better now?
So yeah, it's better.
I had to kind of do a 911 audio thing. Is it better?
Yeah.
Oh, and
So, yeah.
how about you, Eric? Did you just randomly start drawing, or are you also more of a trained artist?
No, I would always doodle in school. I doodled a lot in college, and found it more interesting than doing my courses. And just kind of like it overtook me for like, oh, this is a lot more interesting. And when I was living in New York, I really was taken aback by the history of New York and the buildings and the style. And I just, so much chaos in New York. And I started drawing people, kind of like crazy people, and then would do the backgrounds and fill it up with buildings. But then it turned out that people enjoyed the backgrounds more than the people. So I kind of switched it, and then really got into the history of I love the Gilded Age of New York, like from 1880 to 1910. And it was just this fascinating period of New York time. And I really wow, it just took me aback, like Edison and Tesla and Oscar Wilde would visit, and Mark Twain would be over here. And I was right there. Like, this is where they were. And, I would just rummage through the buildings, and I just loved the history. So I just, and the architecture was just really fascinating. So I just started illustrating that.
That's awesome. I kind of see that in your artwork, like an organized chaos going on of lines, and it's very, vivid in that manner. And it kind of reminds me of a trip, 2008, I went to Amsterdam, and, the art there with the bridges and all sort of kind of coming together, very sort of style-wise similar to that, but I really enjoy seeing that. Now, Candy, how about you? You're saying, you didn't really go to school as much, you kind of kind of learned it on your own. So do you think that in general it's theory, or do you think it's the eye of the photographer that makes the picture?
I think it's inside of me already. That's why.
Do you think someone can learn it though, or?
No, I think you have to develop that. And it's not, I think it was inborn, because I cannot express it, even for my pictures. When I see something and I can feel something, I just stop for a while just to get the shot. Either it's in camera, either it's in tablet, either it's in mobile, I don't care. As long as I took the shot. That's my point. I never missed a moment.
Don't get hit by a car or anything.
No, well, I have this experience. I mean, crossing the street and then pause in the middle. I basically always doing that just to get a great shot. Yeah. I don't care. Even though I do a light stream. I'm pretty aware of that. I'm pretty aware of that.
I almost lost my life one time when I was trying to do one of those shots where you lay on the road and take the picture down really low like that. Mm-hmm. And my girlfriend was supposed to warn me, but she went over in the bushes to relieve me.
Oh my goodness.
And all of a sudden,
ouch.
Me. So,
ouch.
Definitely didn't have her spot me again after that. But also want to give a shout out to everybody that is joining tonight. So good to see a lot of you guys. And thanks for supporting the arts here on the platform too. Want to make sure that we do that, as well as the other business and social media and etc. Now, Eric, you said that you started kind of tagging with your friends and things like that. Was it a competitive thing for you? And now that you have established yourself, like, do you consider yourself more of a satirical artist, or do you consider yourself a dark artist with some of these heavy Sharpie black lines? Do you consider yourself a joyful artist? What do you
Yeah, no, I don't. I try to be a little on the positive side. I definitely, when I do the buildings, I use a lot of photography, like as old as I can get from old New York. And when you look at the pictures, there's a site called Sharpie, and they have these glass emulsion prints, and you can get really deep into the pictures and see incredible detail. And I don't know, I love to use these old pictures because it really transforms you there. You get a sense that you were there, you know, and I get into that, you know. I'm just like, you know, I try to find out these little details, like a woman with holding her kid, and she's got this elegant dress from like 1910, and such a different way of life back then, and you know, just specifically New York. And then I go to these locations, and it's like, what blows my mind? Like, this is this picture, and here I am. You know, it's crazy. So I try to capture the energy from the photographs. You know, that's why it's kind of chaotic. You know, it's, you know, dynamic. I try to capture that energy. But you know, sometimes, you know, when you're illustrating, you're just in it, and it's like, I don't know, like the hand of God is like taking over. I'm just like, wow, I am just. You know, it's better than any drug. You know, you're just in it. Things are happening. You're getting everything you want, and I don't know. It's just the happiest moment you could ever have. So it's just, you know, it's like a joy that it works, and it's like a wonderful process.
Love it. You can see that passion in you for sure. So I know that everybody wants to know that's watching. Where did the idea of the Humans of Blab come from, and who was the first blabber that you ended up drawing, Karolien?
Well, the idea. Well, like I said, I'm an introvert, so I was watching different blabs already. I was sitting there, and I was thinking, oh, it's nothing for me. I mean, I'm not ever gonna jump inside of one of those windows. So I thought I have to kind of introduce myself to those people, you know, in my way.
Great.
And then I began to sketch them and send their sketches to Twitter, because we all have our Twitter handle here. And that was kind of my introduction to interesting people blabbing. And the first one was tech. What's it? Oh, I don't have the book here.
Was it Text? I think on your Instagram, the first one is Text. Is that Jason?
That's him.
Oh, okay, that's
he's the very first one. Yes.
Nice. He was an interesting character.
But also, when listening to blabs, I like to do stuff. So this was a great way to practice my sketching and be busy while I was listening. So
kind of stalking in an artistic way.
Absolutely, it's a little creepy though, because I did it without them knowing, and so it's a little creepy. But that's a little.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me a little of what, you know, Human 2 here and John and you know, we do a little bit now by pulling up the other blabs into the window, and you know, we're kind of watching another blab, but in the end,
I know,
publicly, you know, putting yourself out there already. So it's kind of that fine line of like, is it kind of creepy or not? But in the end, it's art, and everybody loved it. Did you know it was going to cause such a bang?
No, not at all. I made one of Sean VP and sent it to him, and then he came to a blab I was in by accident, and he said, why don't you put them all together on Instagram? That would be a great idea, because then everybody can see them. And I say, yeah, great idea, thank you. So that's how Humans of Blab started.
Nice. Awesome.
Yeah.
So this one goes for all three of you, since we are on Blab. And, you know, I've met all you guys either here or Candy I met before this on Meerkat already. And, you know, I've built relationships with people on these platforms and gotten closer than I have with a lot of my friends. Met a lot of these people in real life. You know, even Dahlia came up after, you know, only meeting her on here for, you know, a month and a half. And then, you know, she brought a friend, and I met, you guys know Lydia Madison, maybe. She does a show on here. And I met her in LA with some people from Meerkat. So how do you guys feel like this platform has sort of, you know, affected your life? And then has it affected also your art? Has it changed anything, the way you kind of perceive the world or anything like that? And Eric, you want to start, and we'll kind of loop around, I guess, this way, if I'm pointing the right way?
Yeah, well, I've only been on the lab for like a week or so. And I got to say, it's very addicting. And the fact that you could just connect around the world with random people is just mind blowing. You know, I mean, it's like incredible. I mean, you would never walk down the street and talk with like four people randomly, but here we are, with people around the world, and we're just chatting and having an interesting conversation. It's really mind blowing. I already did a blab already where I had a project, and I had my Photoshop screen up on the site on the stream, and I was working on a project, kind of like live, like making mistakes, but kind of like working it, and people were coming in and commenting. I thought that was cool. I think it's really. I mean, there's a lot of interesting apps that come on the internet, on the iPhone and whatever, and mobile, but I think this platform is really revolutionary. I think it's one of the Facebook of the age. I think it's really gonna. The thing that kind of freaks me out is it's still pretty small. There's a small community, but you could imagine that some crazy stuff is going to happen soon, which could be positive, could be negative. But someone with an open camera and with an open audience, weird shit is going to happen. So I don't know. It'll be. That's going to happen. So it'll be interesting to see how that evolves. But I think it's amazing.
Did anybody catch Lennox Lewis today? By the way, so I think that was our big first celebrity that came on here. I was lucky enough to came into a chat with Hermine and I on Monday night, and we tried to get him into the actual window, but he said he was laying in bed, but chatted with us for a minute, and it seemed like it was really him from the Twitter account, and then he's scheduled a blab for today at noon or so, but we'll have to see if the replay. But yeah, more celebrities coming here, this thing could just blow up, and the timing of it, we all have a supercomputer in our hand. Why not now? And so, how about you? Is this your first streaming service, Karolien, or did you use the others before?
No, I'm really a social media kind of a virgin. I had Twitter and Facebook and stuff. I used Facebook for posting my works and exhibits, and that was interesting for me. Twitter I never used, and certainly not the live streaming stuff, because I was very afraid of that. So yeah, this is kind of my first using this, and I absolutely love it, because I absolutely love watching people also. So if I'm in the corner there in my little bubble, nobody bothers me. I'm just watching and listening, and it's just amazing and very inspiring also. So I'm hooked totally. So awesome.
Glad to see it. Yeah, you can't get that close to people in real life. You know what I mean? Like you can kind of watch them from afar, but to be in their bedroom, to be eating breakfast with them, it's kind of a creepy and cool experience all at once, and it's not just people tweeting like, oh, I just went to the shoe store. It's like, that they wear a size 12 and they prefer black leather over brown because it makes their eyes stand out. It's like, you wouldn't really know that kind of stuff from even some of your best friends. But how about you, Candy? I know that you have gotten quite a lot out of streaming, and so where is it kind of brought you? I don't know if you can.
Yeah, well, I'm in a country that everybody wants to be in. And the one thing that I can do for them, since they cannot fly over here, it makes me to push myself to bring the real Tokyo and the real Japan what's inside. Not only by doing this in live streaming or through my pictures, also by broadcasting every now and then. So I am all over the platform, which means to say, if you do the search of my name, you can see me by Facebook, by Twitter, by G+.
Definitely not a virgin.
I'm not. Totally not. I'm all over the platform. And everybody in the world knows me. So when they're going to Tokyo, they will just say, hit Candy. She'll there be with me.
I remember like the day that you came on on Meerkat or so, at least 5 or 6 people messaged me and they're like, hey, there's a photographer on there. You gotta look. She's got like 2 million views on Google Plus. I was like, and then I checked it out and I was like, oh crap, competition's in the house,
Yeah, everybody's saying that.
Yeah. And you definitely don't hide it either there, Mrs. Cocky. Well deserved though. Now, if you guys could have it, some of you already have. I don't know your exact sort of financial details, nor have I done enough research or anything. But would it be fame or would it be fortune that you'd rather have? Would you be sort of famous and dead poor and everybody knows you, or would you rather have a lot of money and then maybe be alone and maybe abandoned like some people when they go from kind of zero to hero like that? Eric, what about you? I don't know. How about you? What about that?
If you're an artist and you can make a living, it doesn't get any better than that.
Yeah.
So, that's the dream.
True.
So, you're evolving as you go. You're learning new things. This is a fabulous tool. I don't know. I mean, I can imagine doing, stuff with my art. I don't know if it would sell better, but it's a new tool, and I'm excited to see what happens. But I mean, I've been being a professional artist for about 5 years. So so far, sometimes it's really good, sometimes it's not so great, but I enjoy doing it. So you got to do what you love doing and find out how to get to that point where you want to go.
Yeah, it definitely is. As long as you get to do what you're passionate about, it's pretty lucky. How do you ladies feel? Karolien, you want to start?
I feel the same as Eric, completely the same. I mean, I'd rather live on a budget but can do whatever I want to do in arts than have a lot of money and have to do stuff you really don't want to do. So, yeah.
See, Candy's already rich and famous, so for her this is kind of difficult to answer. She's like, I'll take both. Thanks.
Honestly speaking, you want my honest opinion about this?
Sure.
I never thought about that. Never. I rather go on being myself, and I rather go on to be on my own and to go broke rather than to be famous.
Yeah.
To lose friends. I don't want that be famous. No, I don't want that. If I'm going to lose something which is very valuable for me, then I rather to give up everything. I'm ready for that. That's why I never think about getting famous nor successful. No, I'm just being me. And that's the most important thing for me. And the most important thing is the one who really is in my heart and my family. And that's it.
Yeah, I mean, those are the people that you can really trust. It's like once you get $1 in your pocket or something like that, or let's say Eric sells his first $3 million, sketch or something like that tomorrow, and because he was on, Meet the Artist here on Blab.
Nice. Yeah.
All right, woo!
Yeah! Yeah!
I'm going to Tokyo.
Suddenly we're all friends because we were there, right? That's right. You fly to Tokyo and
definitely
shoot around by Candy over there. Do you guys have any thoughts? I like to ask this question almost on every show because I just kind of want to collect everyone's answer. But how do you feel about originality nowadays? Do you feel like originality is still possible? Is it difficult to achieve? Or is it sort of that, most of the things we draw or think of, we maybe see out of our subconscious and think we're creating it? So how do you feel, Karolien?
I think everything is done before. That's how I look at it. But every person is unique, so everybody can spin it another way, kind of. But every technique is done already. Photography is already here for hundreds of years. So, but what you do yourself with it is, of course, unique. And if you bring your own spirit and soul into your work, it still is unique, and it still is interesting to watch and to buy. So, yeah.
I have to agree. How about you, Candy? What do you think?
Well, just being yourself is unique already. And the talent you have already is something that expresses you that you're unique and you stand out of the crowd. And you have to understand that. And being an artist and you have that talent, it means something. People may envy you, but you have the talent already. You just have to develop it in a nice way.
Yeah.
And you have to be proud of that.
See, I think it's different for the two artists who use, a painting or drawing medium than it is for you as a photographer. Because let's say we both take the exact same person and sort of set it up with the same dress in the same place, and we both take that picture. Is that still then each of us doing a unique thing? Because
Oh
it
yes,
is in a way.
I will
You
say
think
that.
so?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I will say that. Yes, because why? In every artist, there is their individual side of them, inside of them, that brings out their artist side. Just like a photographer, when you see something that which drawers or artists don't see, there is the development already that you can see that they don't.
True.
That the drawers or the artists can see, but we cannot see because we're on more on pictures, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So when we take pictures and they draw, we have a total two different platforms right now seeing. And if you're really a good artist, you can see that in a good spot already, and you can tell the difference in one spot.
Very true. Very true. Eric, what do you think? Was it? I mentioned earlier the Amsterdam art. Had you ever seen that before, or was that any type of play into that?
I was blown away by Amsterdam. I'm like, oh my God, this city is just. Well, Amsterdam was, the precursor to New York. I mean, it was the city of the world back, before New York was. New York was a new Amsterdam, and the artist was there, and they hung out and they did their thing, and Paris was the place where people would hang out, and very liberal place where people would get together and exchange ideas, and things populated from that, and then New York became that, and I think you have to be unique, you have to be an individual. I mean, everyone has their own voice, everyone has their own message. I think it's I think it was Nina Simone who said that it's the responsibility of the artist to reflect the times. So I that's like one of my favorite quotes. The artist, what does the artist do? I mean, they bring a sense of change, they bring a fresh perspective, they excite the world, and I think everyone has a story of that. But then you have to recreate yourself all the time. You have to reinvent yourself. You have to, the artist is bringing something that the world wants to see. You could have a room that's white with no color, and then you paint it blue, and it's a completely different room, a different perspective, a different feeling, and the artist has to excite their audience,
How do you go about reinventing yourself, and when do you know it's time to?
I think you look for new inspiration. When I was in New York, I love these old buildings, and I love the history of it. I just was like, wow, like I said, like Oscar Wilde was here, Mark Twain hung out here, and I could feel their aura there in a sense. And then when I came to California, I was kind of bummed because I thought I was going to lose that history. But what I discovered at LA has this insanely incredible nature, and these trees are just beautiful. I mean, like beyond belief beautiful. And I never really knew that. And so I saw these trees and the flora and the smells, and that just inspired me for new pieces. Like this, it was just everywhere, and then I just kind of glommed onto that and just started recreating that in a new way. So, I think you can find inspiration everywhere and reinvent yourself.
So now you're in the LA area, is that? Okay,
Yes, sir.
Left New York. Was that difficult leaving New York, I bet?
It was.
Karolien, do you have to be in a certain mood when you draw?
I love to just go to a coffee shop, and I love the clatter of people behind me, and I'll just get a coffee and just start. You have a little. I mean, I love having my Sharpies and my little notebook, and I usually look for historical pictures. I go through Google and search for old New York or now old Europe, and kind of find inspiration in that. And sometimes I'm hitting busters, it's coming out like crazy. Sometimes nothing happens, nothing happened today. So you just keep trying, and sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. So inspiration, I don't know. It just sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't.
How about you, Karolien? I've seen you kind of prepped up when you've been setting up your and everybody, if you want to check out, she's been working on a painting live on Blab here. I don't know if you have any more days of doing that left or if you're finished with it.
Yeah, a few more days.
Few more days
to go.
Yeah, so check that out. And do you kind of, have to prep yourself? I know you said you don't like to be on camera much either. How does that play into it? And what do you like to paint?
Well, the work I'm working on Blab here is a commission, so that's not really my my own artwork. My dada is the stop motion animations painted directly on walls, so life size. That's my real world. That's my real technique. The paintings I'm doing are commissions, and that's to pay the bills, which I love. I mean, I love to do them also because it's a great way to pay your bills. But I want to go back. Changing your ways or reinventing yourself. For me, it's when I don't have the feeling I'm struggling anymore. I always need to feel that I have to go through stuff to get my image or my vision on paper, on a wall or something. If I don't feel that anymore, if it's too easy for me to express that in that way, then it's done. Because then it's too easy, and then I have attention to let it go. It's too. And then I have works that look the same, feel the same, and then it's like going to IKEA and buy that kind of art, and that's not me. I want to have the struggle to reinvent and to push forward to get the right stuff out. That does it for me.
I feel like a lot of artists get stuck right there. They might find something that the public likes, and then they find something they can monetize, and then they lose their creativity by producing, not really drawing anymore. But interesting that you feel the same way. And as a photographer, I mean, it's almost technology kind of reinvents a little bit for you. You know what I mean? It might be that new phone, it might be that new app, and I'm not saying that the artist goes away or the need, to have the right eye, but do you think that that helps a lot? And do you think that the whole, having this giant camera, because I noticed this at shoots, is if I don't show up with a big camera, I did one with a little mirrorless camera and with a detachable lens, I think it was a Nikon N1 or something. And they looked at me kind of funny, like, what are you doing here with this thing? You know what I mean? Where's the camera gear? And I was like, this camera is twice as expensive as the one that I own at home. Maybe you should look it up. But do you feel like that's going to go away and everyone's just going to be running around with an iPhone with a giant lens on it like that? Bird photography or whatever.
Well, for me, I stick to my own, to what I believe and to what I see and to what I feel. When it comes, if I'm not in the mood, I just read books and go to museums, go to the streets, go to malls, go to the cemetery. From that point of view, my mind will start just imagining things. And every day I have this habit of looking at the sunrise, and after the day, I'm always looking by the sunset. It's always that, every day. Every day. I don't know why. It happens. I can feel some energy about that when I look at the sunrise and look at the sunset. So I can tell, for me, it does make sense for me. Since I've been here for a long time and I'm doing this for a very long time. And that's my inspiration a lot. And if I'm not in the mood, I will just be at home and sleeping, and that's it.
Yeah. Sunsets, usually sometimes I kind of miss them, but I usually sleep till after the sun's up, but the days that I do wake up at like 5:36 or whatever, lately I've been getting up early again. It kind of goes in phases, but I feel that too. Like if you on the days where you see the sun rise and you see it feels complete as a whole. I don't know if you guys all feel that way, but not all of us get to do that either. You got to go to work and we don't realize it or whatever, but it just kind of makes the day feel like the full circle kind of happened on the way. And by the way, if anybody in the audience has any questions, feel free to type those in there as well. And I'll ask a couple more here, and then see if you guys have anything that you want to pitch, of course. But other than where do you kind of see yourself going from now? Do you see yourself continue? And we'll start with Eric on this. Do you see yourself continuing in that style? Do you like moving around, and then that kind of gives you a new city to work with and a new canvas to draw on? Are you kind of a nomad artist, or how do you see yourself going forward?
I like to try different. Well, now I try to make iOS apps. So I'm trying to just do. I do visual coding, which is an easier way to code for apps, and I do motion graphics as well.
Yeah, I saw some of that on your blab the other night. Right? Is that something you do quite a bit of, or?
Well, yeah, I used to, and when New York, I used to work at MTV and Nickelodeon. I did motion graphics for promos, and I would just illustrate it for ha-has. It was just kind of like a tension reliever. But I was really into 3D graphics and 3D modeling and Maya and motion graphics. I loved all that, and then everything starts looking the same, and it takes using the computer, as you know, is just like a horrific process because you're working on something and then it doesn't work, and then you have a deadline, and then all of a sudden some crazy error pops up that you've never seen before in your entire it's due in like 5 minutes. Like, what is this? And it's just like this process, and you got to render, and it's just like nothing ever works. And then when you're drawing, it's so pure, you don't have to worry about it. You're just drawing, and you have a line, and it's just beautiful. And then when you have something that you really love, it's like, it's just like no rendering. And yeah, I think, just because we're shifting to mobile and web, people obviously are going to need design and art, and it's just different tools, but I could just see evolving into whatever tools come up. I really love creating apps. I do some apps, like kids story apps. I like doing that with like a different type of style that I do. But I could see possibilities forever. So I'm going to stay in this business until something else happens.
Nice. That's awesome. How about you two? And you want to start? We'll just kind of go in the circle again. Whee! Makes it easy.
So that's me. I'm in the circle. Okay.
Yes.
Well, I would love to go around the world with my talking walls, meaning those stop motion animations in abandoned buildings or neighborhoods, because I am absolutely passionate about it. So I would love to discover new cultures, new habits, new people, and do my little stop motions, talking walls, animations around the globe, because I think that would be just amazing. So I hope someday, somewhere, somebody hears me and decides, well, that's a good idea. So yeah, that's what I'm hoping for. In the meantime,
and I looked at your website, and I'm gonna post a link of one on here too. But you like doing them just in abandoned buildings? You don't want to have them publicly kind of displayed more to be prominent, or
yeah. To earn some money, I'm pitching the same project in businesses now to invest in art and to get a life-size mural inside their buildings, and also a stop motion movie that tells the story of their business or whatever, of their vision of the business. So I'm pitching that now anywhere I can. So yeah. It's all trying to survive and trying to do what you want to do, right? So if a hotel, Hilton or whatever, says, we give you a room in every continent, stay there, do your thing, I would say yes, thank you very much. So we'll see. I'm very happy what I'm doing now, who I am now, and I will see how it goes. I'll go with the flow. That's my kind of my thinking.
That's the important part. Stay who you are and don't lose yourself. It's crazy.
Oh yeah.
Everybody can sell themselves, in this world, just to try and get ahead somehow. And I feel like that's such an ugly thing to see in people. And a lot of my friends, I've seen them come, and the ones that stayed, most of them, a lot of them are artists, or they went into like say some architecture or something, at least into the direction of having that freedom to express themselves. How about you, Candy? You got any big plans coming up? I know I heard
Yeah,
of some
I know.
rumors.
Yes, by September 26th, I'm going to be joining 500px of International Worldwide Photo Walk in Tokyo. That's number one. Number two is by Scott Kelby's Worldwide Photo Walk, and I'll be the leader of Tokyo. That's why. And in the future, I'll still be doing the same things that I'm doing, because I am teaching also photography in a big university here in Tokyo. That's one of my day job, aside from translating and teaching English and Japanese. That's why. And the other thing is, for next year, the Amsterdam Art Fair, guys, that is. Before Amsterdam, they were in Tokyo. That's why. And I got the chance to, to have this conversation with the directors and everybody. And by May next year, they will be here in Tokyo. And pretty sure, cross fingers, my pictures will be up.
Nice.
I think it's 20 to 30 pictures they're now selecting, and I cannot select what will be the pictures of it. I don't know.
Awesome. Look at you. You got fans that want to fly you over here already, Karolien. You got plane ticket and everything bought for you right there. Yeah, usually kind of keep it to, about an hour or so like that. I just want to really thank you guys all for coming out. And if you guys all want to put your websites once in the chat there, and just kind of tell them maybe where they can find your art, where they can purchase it, how they can support you, and you guys can all give yourselves a shout out in that department.
Okay, I'll start first. You can search my name. It's Candy Javier Sakai. When you do the search for Google, it will pop out everywhere. I'm in the platform. And right now, my biggest project is by patreon.com. And there it is. But we're trying to push.
Patreon is real quick too.
Yeah.
Tell everybody what Patreon is, just so in case people don't know about Patreon.
Mm-hmm. That's one of my projects, and by two, that's two. And I'm still figuring out what to do about that. And by next year, I think I'll be traveling I have a world tour right now going on by next year, and I'll be planning that by next year. So I'll be very busy starting October until next year. That's why. And it's all sponsored. I cannot say the name right now. I cannot say. It's sponsored by a big museum down there in the United States. That's why.
Dun, dun, dun. Should I say it? No, I'm just kidding.
No, Dan, no.
Just kidding. I've said too much. Japanese mafia is on my tail.
I know.
And how about the other two of you? Where can we find your guys' art? Where is it for sale? Eric?
I have my website at my... I do stuff like this type of stuff. This is puck building. I sell... I have a lot of art that's being sold on CB2, which is a big store in the United States. Wall art and shower art pieces. They sell on there. And I do a lot of poster work. And what am I doing now? And a lot of UI, UX stuff recently. So that's pretty cool. And I put a link to my site as well.
So you do a lot of the kind of backgrounds for apps things, UI, UX, you said?
Like user design, maybe more organic user design, not as like vector and as clean. Like I said, I've made a few children's apps that kind of like interactive storytelling, which I like doing a lot. So space travel, and a new one I'm working on is called Little Chicken Goes to the Moon.
Nice.
So that's about this chicken and interactivity, and you press the button, and the chicken goes on a rocket, and he fights a princess, fights a dragon, and
that's
a lot of fun. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I like it.
And how about you, Karolien? Do you sell your stop motion? I mean, or do you sell the individual paintings, or are you? What you said you're more commissioned art, right?
Yeah, well, I can't really sell my stop motion movies. They're on a lot of different film festivals, though, but I don't sell them. I do sell the project. I do sell the 3 weeks I'm on the space in the place. So I do sell that. And of course, people, if you want to have a commissioned painting, it's always large size. So it's meters. Then you're always free to contact me, of course. But not really a picture or something on the website to sell.
What about those people that have not gotten a human of blab yet? Is that only happening when you catch them, or are you now taking also orders to be drawn as a human of blab?
I had already a lot of those orders asking me, begging me to sketch them, but for me it's just, if I'm there, if I see you long enough on a blab, I will get you, and I'm not stopping the I'm not stopping the humans of blab soon. So I'll see you one day or another. The thing is, if you know I'm drawing you, you're gonna act differently. Even though you're not seeing me, you're gonna be, or you know, and that's what I want to avoid. I want to have you as spontaneous and natural. I am a lot of times one of the +1.
She is the +1.
Sorry, I have to confess, but I am indeed.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. Well, for me, I want to make a big shout out for the following the companies that trust me a lot along the way. Times Magazine, that's number 1. National Geographic, that's number 2. Google Plus and Patreon. And for the Chicago Museum, and everybody who's a part of who trusts me a lot for my works and everything. I do really appreciate that you have trust and believe in me. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I want to thank National Geographic too and Time Magazine.
Jan, come on.
Just in case. Yeah,
sure.
And which museum did you say there, Candy?
What? No, I don't reply. You heard it.
All right. Well, does anybody in the audience have any questions? Otherwise, I just want to say once again a huge thank you to all of you. It was super fun chatting with you, and I'm sure we'll run into each other many more times on the blab. I'm also selling artwork on my website, which is evolvedphotography.com, and I am giving a 20% to cancer research for this month. So every month I try to pick a charity of some sort, and this month it's a pediatric cancer foundation. So if you want to buy a print, it's evolvedphotography.com, and the password is dreams do come true. Oh wait, dreams come true, not do come true. Dreams come true. Got it. All right.
Hashtag.
Thank you guys.
Curators didn't select my work, and I was a little nervous because I thought, crap, I hope they don't think that my work is too commercial, because if it's too commercial, there's no way that I'm going to have any institutional credit whatsoever. And so understanding kind of what that institutional credit really is and what the value is in that is really cool, because there was one guy, he told me, he said, because I was doing this, I'm in the process of I'm doing this new Kickstarter. I think I told you a little bit about it, Jens, but hopefully once it's approved by the gods at Kickstarter, it'll be live. But
how does that work?
Yeah, so you do your thing. You basically say, this is what you're trying to do, this is why you're doing it, and blah 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 blah. Put a video to the same effect and show something so people can have something that's tangible that they can understand, and then you fill out the rewards. And this all takes a lot of time. I really thought, wow, I'll just do a Kickstarter.
Yeah,
it's not even. It's so much work. It's not even.
The audience would vote. I didn't know there was such a strict kind of preliminary screening to it. I feel
no, it's not. It's not really strict. They just want to make sure, you're not saying things in there if you spend this much money, then you have a chance to win this thing, because then it's going to be it's a lottery.
It's like having prizes, exactly like a lottery, and they don't. There's a lot of legalities to contest, stuff like that.
So the 3-day approval that Kickstarter does is really to make sure that they're at no liability, essentially, because you're coming on their network and trying to raise money for whatever cause. Anyway, all that to say that he was like, yeah, don't sell your sell your prints on there. Don't talk about any of that stuff, because you know what? Most of the time that people like come to your shows, they come to the museum, they see your work, like what they really care about is your lifestyle. They love to hear these stories about where you're going, what you're doing, the things that you're running into. He's like, try to figure out how to give him a piece of that. So I did that. You know, I've got kind of a mixture of things on the Kickstarter right now, and then like the highest level reward is like I'm filming humpback whales with my models in Maui in November, and I've reserved 5 spots for people to come do that with me. So if you pay at the highest level, you can come out to Maui. Yeah, you know. So that's kind of a cool thing, you know, because
some money.
Right, exactly. I know. Go get some money, man. You can come. No, but I mean that's the thing. I think people like that. So like if you but you know that's okay to do. So my whole point in telling you this is that's okay to do because you're still promoting your fine art, but you're not going commercial. Yeah. Commercial it's an art in itself. But I've been on fashion shoots before, and I've looked at the photographer that they've got, and you know, he's setting it up, and there's a very big ego trip happening there. Like, this guy's setting this up, that's his team, and blah, 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 blah. But look deeper, and what you'll find is the client comes over, I don't like that. I think her arm is a little awkward. I think maybe you can move over to the left, maybe kind of bring your shoulder down a little bit. Okay, yeah. Don't you think that's good? Yeah. And then he presses the button. That guy is like George Jetson, the guy who presses the button. That's what he does all day. Yeah. So to me, and I'm oversimplifying it, right. And I hope I'm not offending anybody here in this room, but I do feel like there's an element to the creativity that's lost. And so I think that's when the institutions are saying, oh, well, he's too commercial. They're kind of saying, well, we really want something that's a lot more creative, a lot more cutting edge.
That's difficult because, you know, the person who's going to get selected to be commercial is obviously someone who's drawing a lot of attention. They might do that with their creativity and uniqueness. So it's like there's that borderline. Like, is it a sellout or is it just somebody who really was a freaking good artist? You know what I mean? And did something new and unique, and somebody discovered it, and then, you know, of course, they want to commercialize it, and somebody else wants to get a piece off of it. But
well, man, you know, I'm not complaining. Like, I mean, take Peter Lick for example. That's a guy that he'll tell you that he's fine art, but in fine art circles, he's not fine art. He's commercial, right? But you know what? If I was Peter Lick, I don't care what you call me, because here's the deal. He's got multiple stores all around the world. He's got 2 in Vegas, the one in the Venetian. Any takers on how much he makes per month at that store?
Not a clue.
Over $1 million?
1.5 million a month.
Jesus
Christ. At that one store.
Wow.
So yeah, you want to call me a commercial artist? Yeah, knock your socks off. I'm a commercial artist. You want to write me a check for 1.5 per store a month? Done. I'm a commercial artist.
Well, it's funny because
golden Gatorade bottle.
Right.
You know, we a lot of people use the word commercial. For example, I've done illustration for 20 years.
Yeah.
And you know, you can either call it art or just call it illustration, whatever. The point is, when I grew up, I did go to Italy. I went to study the masters, and then I learned certain techniques. Now, the techniques, I think, is what kind of makes the style. You know, you use certain techniques consistently, and you kind of create your own version of the work that you do, and then they recognize you for that technique, and then they want to pay you money for it. So when I got hired, I mean, I started working professionally when I was 18, I think, and I had a portfolio. And what was cool is I showed my portfolio, and they said, "Well, can we print these?" And so even my portfolio has been printed, and that was great because, you know, it was my first exposure to art. And well, not art, but illustration and being skilled, so to speak. And every piece I've ever done since then was a hired piece. I have yet to, let's say, a fine art piece because, well, I just had a lot of work,
right?
You know, and that became my life and my, you know, how I pay the bills. And I've done stuff for everything from Disney to Warner Brothers. Did some stuff for some Batman movies. I've done illustrations for like toy boxes and that type of stuff. You know, and you sign off on the dotted line saying, you know, you can't even say that you've done this art for 10 years.
Yeah.
And they pay you $100,000.
Right.
So if I can do 100.
Hey, you know, for starving artists, that's very lucrative.
Totally. And, you know, most artists don't even realize that that's the world of publishing.
Right.
You know,
so I'm glad you brought that
right now. So if you move this back here, that's not a room. That's actually just the street. So Don't mind me over here.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because so there's an artist that's a British artist that the Dallas Museum of Art had brought over from the UK in the late '80s, and he's a mentor of mine. And whenever I get stuck, I always ask him questions. And he brought up this very thing, and he said, "Jeremy," he goes, "You know what? It's actually probably better that you're just a barista." And the reason why, he said, was because people can understand an artist being a barista, but they have a hard time understanding a guy who's doing commercial art on the side because they just don't know who you are. They can't figure you out. And I think that there's some. Yeah, you get dumped on for sure. And I mean, you know what? Like I said about the Peter Lick thing, if somebody writes me a check, everybody has a price, by the way. Everyone has a price. I don't care who you are. So, yeah, I mean, if someone's writing me $1 million checks, I mean, I'm probably going to say, like, yes, sayonara, institution. So.
I mean, that's probably true for me, too. It's, at a certain level, it's like, do you want to continue to express yourself, or do you want to just enjoy yourself and be comfortable and then still, do whatever, kind of express yourself afterwards?
The ability to say I can pick up a paintbrush and paint on wood and get paid for it. That doesn't really exist much anymore.
Well, I do think it does exist, actually. I think it exists, but essentially what you're doing as an artist, regardless whether it's commercial or fine art, is that you're building a brand, and the reason why most artists fail is because they suck at business, right? To be a really good artist, you're going to have to understand business. You're going to have to understand marketing, and you're still going to have to be a really good, artist on top of all of that, And most of the artists that I've met, even the really, really good ones, they just don't have a real entrepreneurial spirit. I mean, there's some artists that I've even kind of said, hey, you know what? We're doing this project over here. They're buying a bunch of artwork. They've got some money in the pool. You should put your money in. I mean, you should put your art in and get some money. And when it comes to just something as simple as creating an invoice to get paid, this is like the first time they've ever done an invoice. And some of these people are like 30 years old. Are you kidding me? It's mind-boggling, really. And so I think there's an element of like what I would call entrepreneurship, and that entrepreneurship is the art of being an entrepreneur.
Yeah. With one of those, I just had a wake-up call because I was said in another blab. I was like, oh, I was surprised on Meerkat how few people actually, bought a print off my website. And somebody who was almost in all my Meerkat streams was like, you sell prints on your website? And I was like, shit. It's like, I so don't want to be that guy that pushes anything on people to the point where, it hurts me. You know what I mean? So I started mentioning it more often now.
Yeah. In the early years, I mean, I was just like every other artist. I mean, I was trying to, hustle my stuff on the street if I had to, And I remember there was this artist. His name is Ted Knight, amazing guy. So you've heard of him?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. He does these wood sculpture bowls. He actually takes a full piece of wood and then basically uses a lathe and makes it so thin that you can actually see through the wood. It's beautiful.
That's cool.
These bowls go for well over $100,000, sometimes $200,000. And so I had this whole conversation with him about, artist representation, and, just doing these guerrilla shows and just making money and not having to pay the commissions. And he looked at me and he said,
have an art rep.
What? I'm sorry?
It took me 10 years to even realize that art reps existed.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I know, because it's like you're thinking in your head, it's like selling your house. Like, I can sell my house. I'll put it on Craigslist if I have to. Well, yeah, you can do that, but that's not what you do every day. So you're probably not going to be as good as the guy that does it every single day, But what Ted told me, he was like, he goes, Jeremy, when you get to be my age, you're going to just be tired, and you're going to just want to do nothing but create your artwork and lock yourself away. And you know what? The older I get, and some of the more remote places I go, I'm like, if I can just not go back ever, I'm okay. I want to create something cool and send it off and see ya, and not even show it up to an art show. I don't want to go to another art show.
5 years, literally in one room, painting. I never even met any of my clients. They would call, they'd ask for some sketches. I would fax them the sketches. They would approve whatever sketches they thought were right.
Fax them. He said fax.
It was years ago that I was doing this. And
right.
didn't have email back then. I would hire the models over the phone. They'd come to my room. I would photo shoot in the room. I would develop everything in the room, and then I would basically do my illustrations from the room.
If you showed that to a little kid now, they'd be like, "How does the paper go in the phone line?"
Right. Is that a shredder?
Well, yeah, everything was in my room, and I would order food. I would paint overnight in the middle of the night, so it would go from like 7 to like 7 the next day, and I'd sleep in the day, and turn into a hermit. And some of my best pieces are around that time period. And then I got back into doing music videos and other entertainment stuff that took me out into the real world again.
Sure.
And I'm surprised I'm even married now.
and now you're on Blab and you're not outside again.
Yeah. Isn't that weird?
It's funny, I'm in my hermit time right now too. But at least this is like kind of de-hermiting me. I don't know. It's like I've been so busy like working on stuff and redoing my website and trying to just, get all the platforms and be everywhere and market, because I kind of got thrown into full-time freelancing in January from having worked at a studio which closed down due to a wonderful other photographer drinking at a high school football game and losing 9 out of our 12 school contracts here in the area for all the seniors. So,
you told me about that.
Yeah, there was no more. I'm not gonna say the name, but there was no more ... studio. So, I was kind of like thrown out onto it, and luckily so far it's been okay. But it's definitely been, probably I would say the biggest struggle, in my life. Yeah, I'm not that old. I'm, gonna turn 30, but. Still, this is the first year where I was really like, shit, it's like I don't have any kind of steady income. Like I got to hunt.
Well, nothing makes you a hustler like hunger.
Yeah. Cup of noodles for the 800th time.
Absolutely, man.
But
food's not important. Only work.
Just beer, right?
Right.
I had to cut alcohol out of my life. God, all the dramatic.
Yeah, that's expensive.
Yeah, that is true. It's like I'd stop going out. You go out once, you spend $100. Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
it's insane. But it has been fun because I've got to learn everything and do everything myself, and just kind of rediscover kind of what it takes to chase after the dollar, I guess, so to say, not just have that check that comes in and go to work and go back home and photograph whatever the 10 people that came into the studio and then do my own stuff on the weekend. But I didn't get to I have a shoot coming up where it's for an architect in town, really cool new modern building, that's on a Wednesday. I would have been stuck in the studio shooting the same portraits over and over again. So in a way it's a blessing, but definitely is more of a hustle now than it was before. But
but you know what, it'll make you stronger. It really will.
Well, that also and expand in different ways too.
Yeah,
sorry.
That's absolutely. I was just about to say that.
I started doing illustration, painting, all traditional, all that stuff, and things went digital and stuff like that. So I started learning how to do, post-production. I ended up doing stuff for Saturday Night Live. I moved and I worked at Good Morning America. And then now I've moved down to Georgia is where I am now. And I built this studio by hand. I didn't buy any special tools. I kind of figured it out. And then Blab comes out and I spend all this money for nothing. But
right. Yeah. But I mean, it's still an improving ground.
Right.
Yeah. Who knows? It's just so early. We're still running around in our little Pampers here, like lost little kids. Who knows where this platform's gonna go? I love the people who have an opinion, like, oh, this is it. We're all for sure monetizing this, and this is it.
Yeah, was it the Web 3.0?
Yeah, it's like I was on Meerkat 2 months ago. They said the same shit. But now there's 5 on a day.
I know. I think that it has its place, and I think for stuff that you're just going to broadcast and you don't want to have extra video, those things are perfect. Periscope and Meerkat, but for this, I like it because it kind of brings back the old kind of talk radio feel.
Yeah,
I was feeling more of the old AOL chat lines.
I guess you're right.
Yeah.
I guess you're right.
You met random people still online. You weren't stuck in your community.
Right.
Yeah.
And I can just see, everybody who's in a small town, who's, doesn't have a lot of friends in that area because they don't, you're the one that has like that weird creative mind, and you don't have a lot of people to talk to because they think you're weird. And then you get on this, and you're like, hey, we're all creative here.
Right. Yeah. No, I think that's the key identifier. If you're weird, then you're obviously doing something right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, if you can describe it as
who wants normal?
Right. And I mean, clearly, if you've seen any of these other rooms, nobody here is normal.
Right.
Got either that marketing fire or that entrepreneur fire. I mean, everybody's super. The information I've absorbed in the past few weeks just on the more structured conversations is like mind blowing. And then in the middle of the night when you get to be in the rooms where people are just kind of chilling at home.
Yeah, what amazes me sometimes, I mean, I can goof around or whatever else too, but I'll usually be working on something else. Like I can't just be on this. Like some people, they're sitting on their couch or laying in bed and they're on this for whatever, 6 to 8 hours. Like,
oh, more than that.
I can't do that. Like I have to either have my computer in front of me to where I have Photoshop to mess around with or something, or be interviewing or having an actual discussion. Like,
well, I'm actually a blab as we're talking.
Well, but I think that creates value, right? Because it's kind of like, why would somebody? It goes to the old concept. Why would somebody pay for something if you're giving it away for free? And if you're here all the time and you're spouting out all this crap and about you're an expert and this and that, you're probably not because you're still here. Because otherwise you'd have clients calling you and you wouldn't have time to be on here. So there's that philosophy. But the other philosophy is like, if you pop in every so often and like, you do it, kind of on your down cycles, then I think you get a lot more of a quality conversation. At least that's what I've noticed. With some of the other groups, like I don't know if was it you, Jens, I was talking to? I think it was you and John I was talking to, telling you that I met an astronaut that was an Australian astronaut.
That's right. I remember you saying.
Yeah, he was broadcasting from Antarctica. Just came from this island, went down into this like volcano, and he shared this YouTube video. And I'm like, far out. Like I never thought about putting on a heat suit and going into a volcano, but now I kind of want to do it, man. That looks pretty cool. But that's the kind of conversations you're having with people. I think that's what creates real value, and that goes back to that whole content conversation. This compelling content.
Yeah, I mean that's. I remember one of the first kind of really unique things I saw too was I think the guy's name was like Channel 7 or something like that, but he came in on a helicopter. Did any of you guys see that one?
No, I've done that on Periscope, but I didn't.
I didn't hear about that.
Yeah, it was like all of a sudden some guy like popped in the blab and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm in a helicopter. Check it out." And like he pointed it out the window, and everyone's like, that's kind of cool." Like
that is cool.
But it'll be cool to see how. And then Lennox Lewis, chatting with him the other day on Monday night, and then I know he had his blab today. I didn't get to watch it, but I was talking to him for like 20 minutes and guess what his hobby is? Photography. That's his number 2 passion next to boxing. You know what I mean? He shoots on a Leica. It's kind of funny. Awesome. You would never find that out probably reading about him on the internet. And he said his biggest problem is his thumbs are too fat to hit the buttons on the cell phone and the camera. That's awesome. Pretty funny to imagine those giant boxing hands.
Yeah. It's more like this.
Yeah. They can't see anything.
Well, guys, I gotta bounce, man. I gotta catch that flight tomorrow. So it's good catching up with you, though.
Yeah,
and I'll be on when I'm down
nice
there.
To meet you too, dude. I'm gonna go off too. I've been chatting now for 2.5 hours, so that's enough blabbing for me for a little bit. But yeah, dude, have a good night, guys, and hopefully have you guys on soon.
Cool. All right. Well, it's good to see you and meet you guys. I'm gonna follow you guys.